Hey, welcome back. Today we're going to remove and replace the front and rear wheel on my R1200GS. These videos are sponsored by the Packmoto Tours online part store. So come check us out. Find your supplies here at packmototours.com/store. Hey, I'd also love it if you would subscribe to this YouTube channel. You could subscribe right here. Of course, give us a thumbs up if you like it. Feel free to leave a comment. Lots of videos around oil changes, air filters, spark plugs, all kinds of projects for both the GS and RT here on the Packmoto Tours YouTube channel. Okay, again today we're removing and replacing the rear wheel and the front wheel. I'm going to take, I got some new tires here. I'm going to take it to my local shop, have them put on the new tires, and then I'll mount the wheels back on. So I've got these Dunlop Trail Max Missions. The pair I have on now have about 10,000 miles on it. I know that sounds hard to believe. I'll give you a close-up of the old tires and the new tires here in just a second, but we're going to put on a new set of Dunlop Trail Max Missions. So, all right, you guys ready to get started? All right, let's get to it. All right, we're going to start with the front wheel. So before I do anything, let me just walk you through the process here. So we will remove these bolts. These are 13mm bolts to take off the brake calipers. I like to wiggle the brake calipers side to side to separate out the brake pads so they're easier to fit back onto the rotor when we're ready to put the bike back together. Right here is a stopper for the axle, so that is a T45 Torx. We don't remove those, we loosen them on both sides, and then there's an axle bolt on the other side, and we'll remove that bolt. The axle slides out and the front tire is free. So that's the process. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, 13mm. Like I said, I'm going to separate these brake calipers so nice and easy to get back on. Okay. Now we'll loosen this up and we'll go do the exact same thing to the other side. Okay, 17mm to take off the axle bolt. Little tap with a rubber hammer, and the axle slides right out. Slid the axle out. Okay, you'll notice I put a jack here to keep the bike from wobbling too far forward or too far back. There's one on the back side as well. I've taken off the brake, loosened the axle bolt, slid out the axle, and now the tire just rolls out. There we go. And down on the jack. Okay, off to the rear. All right, the rear is even easier than the front. We just need to take out the 5 lug nuts. They are T50. I put a jack, as you can see, on the back side. I like to use my torque wrench to start the process because sometimes I need a little bit more force to get it started. A little more leverage, I should say. Okay. I also put the bike in first gear so the wheel is not going to rotate. Just enough to break these. Last one. Tire comes off, wheel comes off. There we go. I did want to point out on the front wheel, when you take it off, there is a spacer that fits on this side, okay? You don't want to take your wheel to the shop to get new tires and leave this spacer in, because you may not know where it ends up. So I will take this out, save it, reinstall it when we're ready to put the tires back together. All right, wheels are off. You can see the old rubber and the new rubber. I just thought I'd give you a nice view of it there. So there you have it. It is time to go take these wheels and new tires into the shop and get them mounted. And then we'll come back and put the wheels back on the bike. All right, let's do it. All right, I am back with the wheels. They have come back from the shop. Got new rubber mounted. For me, they were $35 each to have the tires mounted to the wheels and balanced, so that's a pretty good deal, I think. Before we do anything, we always want to check to make sure that the tires were put on in the proper rotation. So inside the wheel here, there's an arrow. This arrow is pointing down, and I just need to find the arrow on the tire here, and there's the arrow also pointing down. So put on the proper direction. I've already checked the rear tire, so it's on the right direction. So we are ready to put these on. First things first, I'm gonna do the front wheel first, just because it allows me to lift up the front a little more without the rear wheel being installed. And remember that spacer? I'm going to put a little grease on the spacer, put the spacer back before we start putting the wheel back on the bike. All right, let's go. So as I said, I'm going to put this spacer in. I have some Castrol Mollib alloy paste TA, so that is what I am going to use to apply a little grease to this. A little bit goes a very long way. Okay, got it all in. Slide her back in. There we go. So the spacer's installed on this side. I'm ready to put the tire on. Okay, we're ready to go. I've got the axle here. You can see I lifted up the front end of the bike a little bit so I could roll the front tire in. I've got my Mollib alloy paste TA. I'm going to give a little bit of it on here and then lube it in, rub it in. Okay. All right, it's all the way through. How about that? $17mm socket. I'm not going to torque everything down yet. I will wait until I do that later. So if you remember when we were when we took these off, the brakes off, we wiggled them to separate out these brake calipers. So look how easy that goes back in. See? So just slides right in. Okay, these are 13mm bolts. We've mounted them back on. They get torqued to 38 Newton meters. These axle clamping bolts get torqued at 19. There we go. We're going to torque the axle bolt at 50 Newton meters. There we go. 50. All right, I slid the rear wheel back in, centered the lug nuts, put the lug nuts back in, and torque everything down. Torque wrench set to 60 Newton meters. All right, there we go. We finished another fantastic project. Removed and replaced the front and rear wheel on this water-cooled R1200GS. A very easy project. Lots of videos on the Pack Moto Tours YouTube channel. Oil changes, spark plugs, air filters, brakes, lots of projects. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Give us a thumbs up if you like what you see. Of course, we always welcome your comments and feedback. So again, thanks for joining. Stop by packmototours.com/store for all your BMW maintenance parts. All right, thanks for joining. Come back and see us again.